88% of companies are now using AI in at least one business function. That's not a projection. That's McKinsey's survey of nearly 2,000 organizations published in 2025. By almost any measure, AI has crossed into mainstream adoption. And yet, only 6% of those same companies qualify as what McKinsey calls high performers, meaning AI is actually showing up in their bottom line in a meaningful way. 6% out of 88. So either the technology is broken, or most companies are using it wrong. The technology is not broken. This is the frontier economy. Let's look at what's actually going on. Here's the pattern that runs through virtually every major AI research report published in the last year. Companies are buying AI tools, deploying AI tools, reporting AI usage, and not seeing the financial results they expected. McKinsey puts the gap in the starkest terms. 88% of organizations use AI in at least one function, but only 39% report any bottom-line EBIT impact at all. And of those, the majority say AI accounts for less than 5% of their organization's EBIT. BCG's read is even bleaker. 60% of companies generate no material value from their AI investments, despite meaningful spending. Only 5% create substantial value at scale. The Deloitte numbers tell the same story from a different angle. Worker access to approved AI tools rose by roughly 50% in a single year, from under 40% to nearly 60% of employees. But among workers with access, fewer than 60% use those tools in their daily workflow. Companies are paying for seats that aren't being used, for tools that are installed but not integrated, for capability that exists on paper but not in practice. This is what researchers are calling the adoption trap, the gap between access and actual usage, and more importantly, between usage and measurable value. And the trap has a specific mechanism, one that becomes obvious once you see it. McKinsey did something useful in their research. They didn't just measure failure. They tested 31 different organizational attributes against actual EBIT impact, looking for what separated the 6% who were genuinely winning from the 94% who weren't. The single strongest predictor out of all 31 attributes tested was not the specific AI tools a company used. It was not their budget. It was not even their technical talent. It was whether they had fundamentally redesigned their workflows. High performers were nearly 3 times more likely to have redesigned workflows end-to-end when deploying AI compared to their peers. 55% of them had done this. Roughly 20% of everyone else had. That gap in one specific organizational behavior accounts for more of the performance difference than any other single factor tested. BCG arrives at the same place from a different direction. Their research across C-suite executives finds that the companies generating the most from AI share a few characteristics. A multi-year vision with CEO sponsorship, an AI-first operating model, and, again, workflow redesign at the center. Not tool deployment, not pilot programs, redesign. PwC's 2026 CEO survey adds a sharp coda to this finding. Only 12% of the CEOs surveyed report hitting both revenue gains and cost reductions from their AI strategies. 12%. The same 12%, almost certainly, who did the harder organizational work that the other 88% skipped. McKinsey published a historical observation in 2026 that is worth pausing on because it reframes the whole problem. When electricity first arrived in factories in the late 19th century, most companies made a straightforward substitution. They replaced the steam engine with an electric motor. Same layout, same workflow, same organizational structure, just a different power source. They captured efficiency gains. But they didn't capture the real value of electricity. The breakthrough came later, and it came to the companies willing to do something harder, rearrange the machines around the workflow, rather than just swap the power source. Then, later still, redesign the factory entirely around what electricity made possible. Decentralized power, flexible layouts, specialized equipment that could be placed wherever the work actually happened. The companies that treated electricity as a direct substitution for steam eventually got outcompeted by the companies that asked a fundamentally different question. If we had this capability from the start, how would we have designed this operation differently? The parallel to AI in 2026 is close enough to be uncomfortable. Most organizations are doing the steam-to-electric substitution, installing AI on top of existing workflows, capturing some speed gains, reporting adoption, and wondering why the numbers aren't moving more. The high performers are doing the factory redesign, starting from what AI makes possible and building the workflow around that, rather than bolting AI onto the workflow that already existed. Gartner adds a warning for companies that think they can skip this step and catch up later. More than 40% of agentic AI projects, the next wave of enterprise AI deployment, are forecast to be cancelled by 2027, driven by unclear ROI and inadequate governance. The companies trying to leapfrog from surface adoption to agentic AI without doing the organizational redesign work in between are, by Gartner's estimate, likely to get burned. If you're a manager, a department head, or an executive looking at your own organization's AI spend right now, the research points to a few specific, uncomfortable questions worth asking before the next budget cycle. First, are we measuring the right things? Deloitte found that fewer than 1 in 5 organizations are actually tracking well-defined KPIs for their AI initiatives. You cannot manage what you don't measure, and most companies are spending on AI without a clear baseline to measure against, or a specific metric they're trying to move. Second, are we redesigning workflows or just adding tools? There's a meaningful difference between we gave our team access to an AI writing tool and we redesigned our content process around what AI makes possible, then hired accordingly. The first is adoption. The second is the thing that shows up in the numbers. Third, is there real CEO-level ownership? McKinsey's data suggests that CEO oversight of AI governance is one of the most highly correlated attributes with meaningful financial impact, particularly at larger organizations. Delegating AI strategy entirely to IT or to a junior innovation team while signaling commitment from the top is one of the more consistent patterns in the companies generating no measurable return. BCG summarizes the challenge in terms that are worth sitting with. What separates the future-built companies from the future-broken ones is not the quality of the technology they're using. It's whether leadership has been willing to do the structural, organizational, and cultural work that makes the technology actually matter. That work is slower than buying a software license. It's harder to announce in a press release, and it is, apparently, what almost everyone is skipping. That's the frontier. Back to your inbox.